You're listening to Blackpool Church Podcast. Join us for our Sunday gatherings to make friends, explore faith and encounter God. Visit our website, blackpool.church. This is the Talk Archive.
Thank you so much for having me. Can I just start by saying that first of all, above all things, I'm a Christian. I love Jesus, and 18 years ago, I was someone who was very insecure and fearful, and Jesus basically picked me up and changed my life and transformed me from someone heading away from him towards death, and rather than walking into life and life in all its fullness. And that particular scripture was one that changed my life as I opened this book full of the life-changing words of Jesus. When Jesus says, the thief comes to kill, to steal and destroy, but I have come that you might have life and have it abundantly. And friends, I live in that abundant life. His name is Jesus and he loves me. And today I just want to share that with you, in the hope that if you love him more. And if you don't know that by the end of this, you will know that there is a God in heaven and he loves you. And he has come not that you would face death, but rather that you would have life and have it to the full. So if you have a Bible, please, I'm guessing, scroll to Matthew 8. This is a great book to pick up, and if you genuinely do scroll, I'd recommend also having a hard copy, just so you know where things are, because it is actually set up in a way to bless us. So hard copy's great too. Did anyone bring a hard copy Bible to church today? 10 points. You can spend them in the shop on the way out. Good. Right, so I'm going to read from Matthew 8, just 4 verses for us to chew over this evening. So when Jesus came down from the mountainside, large crowds followed him. And a man with leprosy came and knelt before him and said, Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean. And Jesus reached out his hand and he touched the man. I am willing, he said. Be clean. And immediately he was cleansed of his leprosy. Then Jesus said to him, see that you don't tell anyone, but go, show yourself to the priest and offer the gift Moses commanded as a testimony to them. This is the word of the Lord. Indeed, thanks be to God. Now, Jesus he's just preached the Sermon on the Mount before this. Probably the most formative and historic bit of preaching ever done, collected for us by Matthew. And in that, Jesus has talked about all sorts of things: how to structure your life, how to put God first, how to make sure that you love your neighbor. And then he decides, you know what? I'm not someone who's just all mouth. When I say things, I do things. And so we get the Sermon on the Mount, and I love the way Matthew just plants this moment after it, saying he's not someone who just stood in front of you and said, love people. Now he's going to show you how he does it. And so I want us to bear that in mind. This is Jesus' love in action. Now, do we have here anyone who's into zombie movies? Right, a few of us. I'm not. Just going to throw it out there. Not in any way into zombie movies. But I did once have an evening where me and my wife decided that we were going to sit down and watch a film called Maze Runner, which I thought sounded like a non-zombie film. Spoiler alert, it's got zombies in it. And so we're watching this film, and quickly you realize there's some sort of, contagion. There's this disease type thing, which if you get stung or got by one of the people who's got it, or one of these weird machines, you get it too. And to begin with, you're absolutely fine. No one knows there's a problem. But in that moment, actually, you are the living dead, because it's just going to progress. It's going to get worse. And eventually, the people in this film start losing their minds, and then they try and eat other people. And so it goes on. And you've seen or heard of zombie films before. And so you basically do not want to go near these people once they've been infected. They're the living dead, and it's game over for them. They have no hope, they have no future. It's tough luck. In fact, at one point, they see that someone's been stung, and they decide the best thing to do, even though you're sane and normal right now, is to lock you in a cage and let you die. Isn't that nice? That's why I don't like zombie films. But I was thinking about that when I was reflecting on this passage. Because actually, to be a leper in Jesus' day was to be the living dead. It was to wander around and have no hope of any future. So let me spell out for you what it would have been like to be a leper in Jesus' day. Okay? First of all, there's no cure. There's no way out of this for them. And therefore, once you know you have leprosy, you look at your future and know that it is a dim one. It's a hopeless one. As a leper, you can't sleep at home. You can't hug your family. You can't work a job. You can't worship at the temple. And you can't join in with festivals. You are shunned to the margins. So there's no cure. And then you live alone. They don't want you anywhere near anyone else because you can infect other people. So you're instantly taken outside the city and you have to live there on your own, away from everyone else. No community, isolation. And so you've got no cure and no hope, but then you are trying to face that living on your own. And not only that, if you ever go near anyone, you have to declare that you are unclean, that there's something wrong with you. So lepers in Jesus' day, they've got no hope of a cure. They're isolated, and then they have to wander around saying, I'm unclean, I'm unclean. It would be like Moses and the Red Sea. As they would walk towards people would just part out the way. Children would look at you and scream, and that's the next thing. Not only are you unclean, but you are carrying this immense shame. No one wants to be near me. No one wants to know me. No one wants to even look at me. When I go past, it's like I'm dead. It's like I don't exist. So there's no cure. You live alone. You're unclean. And then not only have you got all of that going on around you, but in you, you know that this thing is tearing you apart on the inside. You're in pain, immense pain, until eventually there's no pain anymore because you've gone numb. And as you go numb, your body parts just start to fall off and decay, and your body starts to disfigure, and things just don't look and work the way that they should. And all of this in the end leads to a complete loss of identity. Because in Jesus' day, unlike ours, we're a bit more I am who I am, but you got your identity from your people. And if the people had chucked you out, and you were living on the margins and you had no hope and no future and you're in pain and you have to declare that you're unclean, you just don't know who you are anymore. There's no point in you. There's no life at all. And this is the first thing that strikes me about this. It's no life at all and no one wants to know who you are. But Jesus comes down from the mountain. He's just preached this crazy sermon and people are like, wow, this guy. He could be riding high. There's probably crowds around going, Jesus, Jesus. And there's this one guy who no one wants anywhere near them. He's like, Lord. And out of all the cries of all the people, whose cry does he hear? The one that no one else hears, the one that no one else sees, the one that no one else is interested in. In fact, they want to avoid him. And he hears his cry and he goes towards him and he starts this conversation. This leper kneels down in front of him and he says, Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean. And I love this because to me it says this guy's heard the stories. He's heard the stories of Jesus. Lord, if you are willing. Because I know no one else wants to come near me. I know no one else wants anything to do with me. I know everyone else wants me out of here and they're looking at me right now like, who is this guy? Get him out of here. But you, I know you're willing. Please, you can make me clean. And I wonder, has he heard the stories of this holy man who hangs out with unholy people and in unholy places? Now, in Jesus' day, there was this understanding of holiness and cleanliness that meant that if you went anywhere near a leper, you were then made unclean yourself. So let me spell this out. I used to play football on a Saturday when I was a kid. And I'd like nothing more than to try and find elaborate ways to celebrate any goal that I happen to score. And I might be aging myself here, but there used to be a footballer called Jürgen Klinsmann, and he was famous for diving. And I don't know if anyone tried this, but there was a celebration you could do if it was muddy enough, where you could do the Klinsmann dive. You scored a goal, and then you ran to the corner flag and like that on your front. It had to be wet enough, otherwise you just stop and get winded, and that wasn't great. But this one time we were playing, we had the perfect Klinsmann dive conditions, and at the end of the match we thought, let's all, as a team, hold hands and run towards the corner flag and just slide in. And it worked really well, and it worked so well that we did it again and again and again, till top to toe we're absolutely covered in mud. And then I thought, do you know what would be hilarious? I wonder if this works backwards. So I ran as fast as I could, turned, and went like that. Your trousers just fall down. That's what happens. You just expose yourself. So don't ever do that. But I was absolutely covered head to toe in mud, and I was front and back completely covered. Even the bits under my shorts were also covered in mud due to the backwards attempt. Anyway, I went home, and as I'm walking down the drive, my mum comes out and she takes one look at us like this. And I was like, Mum, do you want a hug? And she's like, no, and you're not coming in like that. Round the side. And then it was basically like being in prison, as I was taken round the side and hosed down with a cold hose. Take it off, it's not coming in. And then eventually, cold, wet, naked and sad, stumble into the house because I'm finally allowed in. Why does my mum, in this instance, by the way, my mum is lovely, she loves Jesus. I've made her sound like a horror. She's not, she's lovely. But why does she not want me in the house like that? She doesn't want to hug me because if I'm covered in mud, I'm going to make her all muddy. And she doesn't want me in the house because I'm covered in mud, and wherever I step and wherever I go, I'm going to make the house muddy. And this is how the people in Jesus' day thought about cleanliness and uncleanliness. So this leper, wherever he goes, he's basically making other people muddy, other places muddy. And so we don't want him anywhere near us. But this leper's heard about this Jesus who doesn't seem to mind. So he runs towards the prostitutes and says, I'm hanging out with you. Everyone else thinks you make them muddy, but I'm hanging out with you. He runs towards the tax collectors, the cheats, those who have betrayed their nation, and says, I'm coming to have dinner with you. He runs towards those who've been shunned as sinners and outcasts, and he says, I'm coming to hang out with you. And he goes towards the demonized, those who are oppressed by evil, and he says, I'm coming to hang out with you. Because see, what happens is when Jesus hugs a muddy person, he doesn't get muddy, the muddy person gets clean. That's the power of Jesus. And so Jesus, at this point, goes towards this leper, and he hears this leper say, Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean. Now, have you ever heard the phrase, oh, I'd avoid them like the plague? Yeah? And in COVID, we had this thing, didn't we, where we would all avoid each other like the plague, 2 meters minimum. But then we had this weird thing where every Tuesday night, was it? Thursday night? Yeah, we'd get a big pan and we'd go outside the front door and we make sure that we were one of the people who was the good people who did it, and we judge the one who didn't come out to, and then we bang a pot. Why? Why did we did that? Because when we were all retreating from the plague, there were certain people in our country who were going towards it, and that was the doctors and the nurses and the NHS staff. And we said, we want to applaud you for that, because you're going towards something that everyone else is trying to avoid. And what I love about Jesus is he goes towards the things that everyone else goes away from. And so he goes towards this leper and he says, I'm absolutely willing. I'm completely willing. Hear this, my friend. Let me look you in the eye. No one else is willing. I am absolutely willing to make you clean. It's what I do. And so he says, yes, I'm willing. And here comes the holiness of Jesus as the muddy leper gets embraced by the clean Jesus. Jesus doesn't get muddy, the leper gets clean, and he's cleansed and he's healed. And we have the invasion of the beauty and the power and the wonder of Jesus. Isn't that stunning? Isn't that stunning that Jesus does that for this guy? And we know what this means, right? This guy's life is completely turned around now. Remember, this guy couldn't hug a family member, sleep at home, worship at the temple, walk into town without having to declare that he was an absolute horror and everyone should avoid him. And now he's cleansed. He's restored on the inside, but he's restored on the outside as well. That Jesus has taken this guy and completely and utterly transformed him. Now, I love this story because it tells us the beauty of Jesus, but I also love this story because it has this two-tier thing going on where I don't think there's a better story in the Gospels that really tells us about the human condition and about our need for Jesus. Let me work this through with you guys. I want to be really blunt. One, because I love you, and two, because I'm a guest speaker and you probably won't see me again. Okay? Without Jesus, we are the living dead. And we are ravaged by this leprosy of the soul called sin. And it destroys us and it leads us to death. And friends, I want to be really clear. There is no cure for sin that we can come up with ourselves. There are no cosmic scales where if you just do enough good, eventually your good outweighs your bad and God might let you in at the end. That does not get rid of sin. That's a crock. It's nonsense. It's man-made religion. It doesn't work. There is no philosophy where if you sit and become centered enough and focus on your truth and who you are, then you'll be all right. Friends, you take your truth to Jesus, who is the truth at the end of all things, you are in for a shock. There is no cure that we can come up with for this sin. Not only is there no cure, but actually the more we pursue sin, the more we head towards death, the more we live in this isolation. Do you know sin's job basically is to make us focus on ourselves so much that we just start shunning things and people and stuff till we are trapped in a dungeon of our own making where we feel completely alone. And so sin forces us to live alone and isolates us. There's a great example of this in C.S. Lewis's book, The Great Divorce, where he's just painting a picture. It's not a theological truth, it's a picture. Where he says the first person who moved into hell moves into a terraced house at the front row here. And they're living in this house, and they've got the whole street to themselves. And they want the whole street to themselves because their life's just been about them, and that's all they want. But then the next person arrives in hell, and they go, great, I'll move in there. And the person who's living there before says, well, hang on a minute. I like this street to myself, so I'm going to move to the street behind. And then another person moves in and says, well, okay, well, I'll just go into this house. And this one says, well, hang on, this was my street and I want a street to myself. So they move to the next street. So the person on the next street moves to the next street. And the picture is this. There are just endless rows of people living in a house just to themselves on a street on their own because no one wants to be with anyone else because actually sin ultimately tries to isolate us and ruin us. Not only is there no cure and there's an isolation, but we are left unclean. Have you ever felt the sense of shame, guilt, and sadness of bad choices? I know I have. Stains the soul, plagues our minds. We feel guilty. Yeah? And that's what sin does to us, that guilt and that shame. And then it ravages our bodies. Sometimes physically our sinful choices can ravage our bodies, but also they ravage the soul. And if we keep going down a certain path, actually it goes beyond pain and we just get numb till we can't feel it anymore and we can't do anything about that anymore. And ultimately it leads to death. And all of this is an attempt to ultimately undermine our identity. Remember, Jesus says, I've come that you might have life and have it to the full. But the opposite of life is death, and all the enemy wants is for you to ultimately be numb, alone, with no hope, in a prison of your own making where you don't know who you are anymore. That's death. death now and death forever. And there is only one way out of this, which sounds exclusive. I appreciate that. But that one way has a name, and his name is Jesus. And his invitation tonight is whoever you are and whatever's going on, you will not find a cure anywhere else for the things that you are struggling with, for the hopelessness you feel, for the way you've been kicked to the margins or you've made choices that have left you in a prison of your own making. There is no other way, but I'm here and I am willing. So it's exclusively Jesus, but it's utterly inclusive because he says, I don't care who you are, where you've been, what you've done, what you're carrying right now. It does not matter to me in the slightest. What matters is I am willing and I am here. And will you come and will you receive from me all that I have for you? He died for you. He loves you. And he's here right now and he wants to restore. He wants to transform. He's saying to you right now, friend, I really am willing. And I know there are people in this room who go, but not me, because this happened and I did this and I lived like that. And he says, no, you too. I'm absolutely willing. In fact, I'm not just willing, I am thrilled. I'm thrilled. Paul writes in 1 Timothy, he says, Jesus Christ came into the world to save sinners. He's like, this is my raison d'etre. This is the reason I came. It's because I want to meet with you. I'm absolutely willing to heal you. In Psalm 23, we're told that the love and the mercy of God will pursue us all the days of our lives. But pursue isn't even a strong enough word. It's like knows where you live and will hunt you down till it gets you. He's like, I love you and I'm going to make sure you know it. That's what he's about. And tonight, his love is pursuing you and he's saying, please hear me. I am absolutely willing to reach out and to make you clean, to make you whole. That's what he loves to do. It's what he loves to do. And you coming tonight to meet with him and to say yes to him, you just give him pleasure as you lay yourself at his feet and say, okay, I'm in. You can make me whole. He's like, yes, woo, that's why I came. I love it. That's what he wants to do to you and with you this evening. And then we've got this bit of verse 4 at the end. This is the last little bit. But I always think it interesting that Jesus says, don't go tell anyone, and now just go show yourself to the priest and offer the sacrifices required. Why does he do that? Because this is about him, this is about these two. And Jesus isn't doing it for the glory. Other people can call him a healer, sure, but he hasn't done this so that people go, aren't you great? And he's like, yeah, I know. He's like, this is between me and you, because he wants to look you in the eye and know that this wasn't about him getting the glory for something else. This is about you and him having eye contact, him saying, this was just us. This is our little thing, because I love you and I know you by name. And so he says, don't tell anyone, this is our thing. Shh, it's our thing. And then he says, go to the priest. And the reason is because Jesus actually, and he says this, I haven't come to destroy the law, I've come to fulfill the law. So I'm not going to go breaking it now. Go do the things that are required to do. In Leviticus and other places, if you've ever had a read, it's riveting. It says if you've healed of some sort of skin disease, go to the priest and he can confirm then that you are healed and you can be restored back to the community. And so Jesus does this to fulfill the law, but also so that this man may be declared clean by the temple, so that he gets his whole life back. It's the kindness of Jesus to say at the end, this is our thing. Now go, because I want you not only to know, for me to know that you're healed, for everyone to know that you're healed and set free and brought back. So what does this mean for us? It's two things. Jesus fulfills the law for us by dying on a cross. That there is no sin that we have committed in this room that is bigger than the cross. He says, you can kill me. I don't want your sin to kill you. I'll let it kill me. And that fulfills the law. The wages for sin is death. It deserves a death. He's like, I'll die. I'll do it. Because I came for you. Because I love you that much. And then he says, and not only will I do that, but I will come back to life. And then I will send my Holy Spirit so that you might be restored to life. So that all things could be taken and then all things in heaven could be given. That tonight, Jesus not only wants to heal you and make you whole and call you home and look you in the eye and say, this was just about us. He also then wants to fill you with new hope and new purpose and restoration and new life. He has a plan for you, a purpose for you. You're not excluded from it. He knows you by name. He says, I've got just the thing for you. Let's go do it together. And so let him tonight not only meet you in your brokenness, but also fill you up and send you out.